Los Angeles. And this is going to be the greatest podcast that there ever was, the greatest one that ever existed. And today on the podcast, I have my good buddy, my dear friend, Mr. Sean, joining us. How you doing, Sean? Why
Alex,
don't you introduce yourself?
doing well, Alex. Thanks for having me. Long time listener, first time co-host, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to have you on today, and for no better reason other than to talk about our golden gods, the McDonald brothers, McDonald's, the corporation that runs all of our lives, whether we know it or not. Since you are my business aficionado friend, someone I lean on for all things business, finance, corporate, anything in that realm, I know to come to you, Sean. So thanks for joining me.
Oh, that's high praise, Alex. Yeah, I guess a little bit of background. Alex and I are buddies from Virginia. I went down the consulting path after graduation, so I worked in tech and management consulting, which I assume is what Alex is talking about when I have some business knowledge. And then right
Oh,
now
you know what I'm
I'm a
talking about with your business knowledge.
and right now I'm a customer success manager at a SaaS company in Salt Lake City.
I feel
So
like you
another
skipped over some kind of mastery of business and maybe business administration you might have. Could you maybe clue anyone in on that or
Yeah, I did skip over it. I kind of wanted to I wanted to see what you would say, but yeah, for all those out there who don't know, I am a master of business. I know I have the degree from a top 20 institution, so I'm thoroughly well versed
was it
in the
closer to
art.
1 or 20?
Probably closer to the. Yeah, I'm not going to answer that question. That's a trap.
All right, just curious. So what I think what Sean's trying to say is he's a corporate sellout, a corporate stooge
Mm,
here to worship at the almighty altar of the business that is McDonald's. But anyway, how are you doing today, Sean? What's going on with you? Let's start with just some pleasantries.
yeah, no, it's good. For all those out there who are listening, Alex made me wait about an hour to get this podcast going, so I'm crashing a little bit, but you know, the
I'm
energy is
sorry.
contagious. Though the energy is contagious, so I'm feeling good now.
My roommate had Office Christmas Party on, and I got distracted. Have you ever seen that movie, Office Christmas Party? It was on TV, and I got really distracted. It's with
I
T.J. Miller, Jennifer Aniston, Jason Bateman is actually like third bill in that movie somehow.
That's what I was hoping you would say. I'm glad it wasn't just like a booster shot or anything important. It was
Whoa, whoa!
A TJ Miller special.
Have you seriously never heard of this movie?
I have never heard of this movie. No. I mean,
Oh,
I think
it's
I think you mentioned it once
it's not very
to me.
good. No, it's pretty bad. It was, if you ask me, it's like the last great attempt at maybe like 2000s kind of comedies where they actually hired as many comedic actors as they could to jam into one film. And then it was really bad. And so they gave up. But yeah, it's got Jenny Aniston, Kate McKinnon, the Jillian from Workaholics. I don't know. I think her name's Jillian Bell, actually. Jason Bateman, Olivia Munn, Randall Park. So it's got a huge cast, but it's so dumb. But what I was thinking about while I was watching it is because it's basically the plot of the movie is TJ Miller throws a huge office Christmas party for his business because they're going under or something to try and like win one last contract. And what I was thinking about is like we're never ever gonna have these again, are we? Office Christmas parties, right?
No, we are not. My company dangled that in front of us for about a hot minute until they changed it into a virtual Christmas raffle. So
Exactly.
so we definitely went the complete opposite direction from a Christmas
Every
party.
company I hear about is saying like in-person events are highly discouraged, and I'm just like Christmas parties got to be like a thousandth on the list of things that are like priorities for organizations to put together, which sucks because I worked at a nonprofit for most of my career, and really only got to go to like one cool Christmas party before COVID hit and the world shut down. So I really want that experience in that film I watched before I got on this call with you.
Yeah, I mean maybe hopefully you can reenact it one day, Alex. I'm hopeful for you.
Yeah, maybe one day. Maybe after you and I go back and forth on McDonald's, we could establish our own business in the model of Ray Kroc and come up
Yeah.
with our own company to throw a Christmas party for. I can promise you one person who didn't throw a large Christmas party just to win over one customer, and that's Ray Kroc, the so-and-so founder of McDonald's, right? And that is today's topic. We are talking about McDonald's, and boy, howdy, is there a lot to talk about with McDonald's. Is that right, Sean?
Oh my golly gosh, there is so much to talk about, and there is really nothing more American to talk about either. I mean,
You're right.
this is up there with baseball and apple pie and wars. I don't know what we do.
And what?
America wars,
And cold beers and
cold
the
beer,
Rocky Mountains
and
you
the
know,
prison
loving our
industrial
country.
complex.
Yeah, prisoner industrial complex, sure. No, I'm excited to talk about McDonald's today, and I think we're gonna, tour you fine listeners through the history of McDonald's, some facts, some figures, maybe talk a little bit about some of the more scandalous elements of Ronald McDonald's ongoings and his trials and tribulations. But let's just start. What's your perspective on McDonald's, Sean? Like, like growing up? What do you think of McDonald's? Where do you think of McDonald's today? Do you love it? Do you eat there all the time?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, we were a huge McDonald's family. Like, I would throw a tantrum or a fit if we went on a road trip or really any distance longer than like a 20-minute drive, and I did not get McDonald's. Like, that was my thing. Like,
That's
um,
amazing.
and I collected thlike every Happy Meal toy that came out. I worshipped their fries. I thought they were the most delicious thing and the most, like a full meal, when I was a kid. Um, and slowly but surely, kind of as I got older, pulled away from my love for McDonald's. And honestly, I can't really remember the last time I've actually eaten a full meal there. If I go to McDonald's, it's usually for coffee or
Right.
maybe like a sweet treat, like if they're
McCafe, you mean?
a
Like the
McCafe,
McCafe.
exactly. Yeah, McCafe or like a McFlurry, and that's about my extent of
McFlurry,
my
you're a McFlurry
purchases.
guy.
I am, and yeah, don't
Don't
call the
you
police
find
on
that
me, but I like the
Don't
M and
you find
M's.
that like the M&Ms get way too hard? They're like little pebbles in the ice cream. They're like really
That's
hard to
part of the
eat.
fun. Yeah, and it gets like
That's the
stuck in your
fun.
molars.
Oh my God. Beef tallow. That's what I was thinking of. They use beef tallow. I don't know if they still do, but that was a big controversy. They use beef tallow to cook their French fries in. So they were essentially so much worse for you than they should have been. And then they'd advertise they were vegetarian when they totally weren't because they were cooked in beef fat.
Yeah, well, so that's a huge controversy. I don't know if you heard the Malcolm Gladwell the podcast on, like, I think it's called like why McDonald's like disappointed me or like let me down. But the whole thing is about the controversy with the fries used to be made in beef tallow, and then this like millionaire in the 60s got a heart attack in his 40s, and he blamed it on his diet. He blamed it on
That's
eating
right.
fast food. So he
Was
took
it
out
Phil
full
Sokoloff?
yeah, it
Phil
was Phil
Sokoloff, yeah.
Sokoloff, and he took out full page ads saying that how unhealthy, how much
That's right.
cholesterol McDonald's fries are, and it was pretty much like a one man crusade. He was a dark
Yeah.
knight against McDonald's, and he actually got them to change their the way they make their French
And
fries
people
for the
still bitch
worse.
about it now, right? They still say, "Oh, they're not as good, and we want the old fries," right?
Yeah, well, there was a point in time where when they were experimenting with different like vegetable oils to cook them in, the fryers would coat the restaurants in like a thin, like greasy layer of this like the starch, I guess, from vegetable oils, and it was incredibly flammable. So like a McDonald's caught on fire, like way more
That's fucking
dangerous than the
disgusting.
beef tallow. Yeah, like
From
from
fat that they cook their
from
fries in.
well, it was from the oil. It was from the vegetable oil. It was
Oh,
like
okay.
it was yeah. So it was like them in the process of changing the ingredients, like made it worse and like potentially flammable at one point. But yeah, they've since like They've since kind of fixed it, but it's not the same as they used to be. We guarantee you.
Not this, never is, never is.
Never is.
But yeah, we'll have plenty of time to get into the controversies of McDonald's, but my experience was I actually was a McDonald's hater when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
I was a Burger King man myself.
Oh,
I don't know
really?
what it
Serious?
was, but I dead serious. I thought Burger King was the greatest culinary concoction there was out there, and I wasn't really a fan of McDonald's. I'm not sure why that came to be, because I would say to this day, I can stand eating McDonald's if I'm on a road trip or something, but I genuinely can't even really go inside a Burger King anymore. It's some of the most disgusting foods and smells. I have no idea why I ever would have put that up. And you know what? I'm sorry, Burger King. I don't mean to disparage the king like this. I will say that more of my issue is that I can almost always count on a McDonald's to at least be clean, no matter where I am in the country, and I do not feel that way about Burger King at least.
Can I rag
BK Lounge, the BK Lounge.
Can I rag on the BK Lounge too for a little bit?
Yeah, please do.
So my senior year of undergrad, I'm up I'm in Virginia Tech, right? And the campus is massive. And if you're on one side of the campus, the dining halls are on like the other side. So you have to walk across this like massive field, and it's windy, it's freezing. So I opt to instead, I'm just going to go to the Burger King that's right there. I'd never been to this Burger King in 4 years, but aside
the BK Lounge, Sean.
The BK Lounge. The BK Lounge. I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there. I'm giving them a shot. I order a chicken sandwich, just a chicken sandwich at Burger King, which is probably treasonous, but whatever. I bite into the sandwich, and the patty was still frozen. It was a disgusting frozen patty that was just deep fried on the outside. So it looked
they saw you were a McDonald's man. They took one look at you and they said, "We're gonna get this MF for what he did, for what he said about the king."
Oh, I didn't have Twitter at the time, or Twitter was just kind of taken off like mainstream, and I would have destroyed Burger King in one fell swoop, but I just didn't have the tools. I didn't have the technology.
I'm glad my good Burger King name was protected by you. I should say.
And then one other thing, Burger King let me down this past year, because on International Women's Day, do you remember this? They tweeted out, "Women belong in the kitchen."
Yeah, it was not a great look for Burger King.
It was in reference to like someone was saying there should be more women chefs, right? So like it made somewhat sense in context, but out of context, it was just like completely belligerent, like completely Wendy's style.
Yeah, you have the Wendy style of tweeting, which is just an asshole to everybody, and people love you. And then you have McDonald's just being like a professional organization, and then you have Burger King just messing everything up.
Yeah, all they had to do was tweet Burger Queen. That's all they had to tweet.
Or just Happy International Women's Day. Yeah, it's
even
so
better.
Simple.
It's so
yeah.
Much better.
I don't know, but that's a little bit. I would say I ate McDonald's the most when I was in high school, because there was one right by our high school campus. Do you say campus for high school? And I would go there very often. I do remember thinking, like, how stupid are these people? They're selling me a sweet tea, 32 ounces for $1. I'm basically making money. I thought I had outsmarted Ronald McDonald up top. I didn't get what he was doing to me, but other than that, I probably eat it pretty infrequently. And like you said, I maybe stopping in for coffee or whatever. But I am an elitist. I look down upon McDonald's, even though it's the largest restaurant chain in the world if you are measuring by revenue and not by locations, because then Subway beats it out, I think.
What about and you're saying just standalone brands, right? Not like a big conglomerate like Yum Brands.
Oh yeah, I mean chain.
That's like chain. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, let's talk a little bit about the history of McDonald's, educate everyone, and if stop me if I get anything wrong, but I think the story goes is that the first ever McDonald's was built in San Bernardino, California, by Richard and Maurice McDonald, the McDonald's brothers, and they had actually had a like hot dog stand and some other business that failed during the Great Depression, but essentially created the closest thing to the first ever fast food restaurant, and basically just kind of ran it on its own for 10 years or so. Maybe franchise out maybe 20 options, and it didn't really become what it is today until Ray Kroc, who I assume, I haven't seen the founder with Michael Keaton, but I assume that that's what it's based on.
Yeah.
Ray Kroc, he was a businessman that had served in World War One, I want to say, um, and he was sold milkshake creating equipment and came across McDonald's because they purchased a ton of his milkshake making devices. Immediately saw the potential in the brand. Started franchising McDonald's restaurants immediately, and then began this kind of power struggle between him and the McDonald brothers until he eventually was able to buy them out of it. And I've learned some interesting facts about how that happened. But does that sound right to you, Sean, Mr. Businessman? What do you think? Did I nail it?
You nailed it. All checks out. But yeah, that's funny.
Cool.
The founders got their name, but Ray Kroc got all the profits and the fame. So yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, apparently they were, didn't really do that much with it, and he was always trying to push them to expand and better. Like he was a machine and really got it going and built it out, but they didn't want to listen to his suggestions on how to update the franchise, right? But I think so. For those of you listening, and this is why I brought my business expert Sean on to talk about it. McDonald's today is a lot different than I guess other fast food restaurants in that they're actually more of a real estate company than a fast food company, right? So they make most of their money because they own the land and the buildings that all McDonald's operate in. So if you want to open a McDonald's franchise, you pay the franchising fee, and then they tell you exactly where your McDonald's is going to be because they're experts in picking out the best possible locations for it. Then they build the building, and then you pay them rent, and that's where they make almost all of their money. So they actually own the land on which the restaurants are situated, and based on their 38,000 restaurants out there, and obviously some of these are owned by the restaurant themselves, but that land itself is worth somewhere between 16, 18 billion. That sound right to you, Sean? Am I on the right path with that?
Yeah, it was like a very innovative business model at the time, but it's been replicated, in multiple different businesses. I don't know if you've ever been to Texas, Alex. You've been to an H-E-B before, the grocery store?
No, I haven't.
So they're the second biggest owner of land in the state of Texas under the actual state. Yeah, so the state of Texas is number one, and then HEB is number two. And they're a grocery store, but they're really a real estate company. They buy the entire like lot, and then they will have tenants rent out from them, and then they run a pretty low margin business, which is groceries, and then they'll also make pretty good profits on the land, the real estate itself. So yeah, pretty innovative at the time. It's been kind of replicated now, but yeah, we can talk more about the specifics of the business model if you want to get into that, Alex. I don't know if you want to.
So yeah, they don't really make shit off hamburgers, soda, and French fry sales, right? It's all from real estate, rent, and then I guess whatever small piece of the pie they take out of from revenue. Is that right?
Yeah, so I think this is from the founder, and you've never seen the amazing
never
biopic with Michael Keaton.
Wait, hold on. Did he get nominated for an Oscar for that? Did like McDonald's pay the Academy to like ensure that Keaton would be nominated for an Oscar?
It didn't necessarily put McDonald's in the best light. I mean, I doubt they would have been. Well, I mean, it was meant to be it wasn't like scathing review, but it wasn't like this is the greatest company on earth either. It was pretty fair. But yeah, basically, there's a quote from the movie. It's not exactly this, but it's like, he's like, okay, so McDonald's is a company. We make money through our rent, right? That's where we're going to make our money. And then someone asked, he's like, okay, well then how are the people that rent from us going to make money? And he's like, oh, well, yeah, unfortunately they have to sell burgers. I just thought it's just so true. Like, it's crazy to be an investor in a franchise. You need like $500,000 in assets. So you have to be basically an accredited investor, and then you have you have upfront fees, which is
Yeah,
like
but
a
the
cash
franchising
down.
fee is what, like 40,000? It's nothing like absurd, right?
The franchise fee is only like 45,000, but you have to have a cash down payment on the actual location that you're gonna like be
I
in.
see.
So if it's
So that they don't build it
central.
for nothing.
Exactly. Because a lot of them are new builds. You're not taking over an existing McDonald's, which would be a lot
Right.
cheaper. But if it's a new
But that's the
build,
beauty of this business model, right? Is that if you fail, they still own the land. They could just sell it, or someone else could take over.
exactly. And they make, but what you said, they make most of their money on rent, but rent isn't a fixed rate like what they paid to buy the land, which would be like a 10 or 20-year lease on the, or not even a lease, sorry, they outright bought it, but like a 20-year
Right.
mortgage. So they know exactly how much they're going to pay. The actual franchisees have to pay a percent of gross sales, which in like a normal franchise could be like 6%, 6 to 10%. McDonald's, it's like 8 to 15%. And they
Jeez.
didn't do the classic mistake where you go after profit, where you would just run up your expenses basically, because profit
Right.
is revenue minus expenses. So if you bought, a new milkshake machine for your business every day, you could make no profit but still have an awesome business. So
Right.
anyway, so they take it off gross, which is amazing for the business. And then McDonald's ends up making 60+% of their money just off the rent alone. So yeah,
So I
super.
actually know how that model came to be, and do you know how they came up with the rent model? Do you actually know this? Did they
I
cover this in the
remember
founder?
they covered it in the movie. It was like BJ Novak had to figure it out. He was some like Harvard Business School
Oh,
graduate.
well,
Well,
that's
I don't know.
exactly
That's
what happened, Sean. BJ
really.
Novak back in 1955 came up with this plan. BJ Novak, probably aged 48 today in 2021,
Yeah,
came up with this
yeah.
plan and explained it to Ray Kroc and Michael Keaton, and we were good to go.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what happened. So
Well, actually, it's so essentially, Ray Kroc had been trying to get the McDonald brothers when they were still he was just a franchise owner who owned a bunch of locations. He was trying to get them to sell him the company, and they were like, no, no, no. And he was opening up all these new franchises, but not making shit on them because the money all went to the McDonald brothers. They kept getting a fee. So what he decided to do to undercut them was start buying up the land that he would then expand his franchises on. So that
mm,
because he couldn't make all the money they were making on the back end since they owned the brand, he would make all this extra money by essentially being like, all right, I'm going to open a franchise on this land that I own. And then they realized, and then, BJ Novak, Ryan from The Office, realized the potential in that business strategy. So it was actually like a like a sly way to undercut the founders of the company, and eventually they sold it to him for I think 2.7 million, and he ran the company I think through the 80s. Does that sound right?
uh, like up until the 80s. Like, wow. I mean,
Is
that's
that how
amazing if
long
he
he was
did.
alive?
I mean,
Actually, no,
I
that
know
can't be right.
he can't be right because he was like pretty much like a struggling salesman until his like 50s, and he didn't become a
Oh, I mean, he died.
millionaire.
He died in 1984, so maybe I'm right.
Oh yeah, I mean, assuming he spent
Worked until he died.
his twilight years being the CEO of a Fortune 500 company.
They're a
But no,
real
that's
estate
that's
company, Sean.
that's fascinating. Well, I mean, they're not just real estate because they also have the innovation arm, right, where they make the new products and they have the new technologies.
Yes, the filet
Um,
of fish,
the fillet of fish.
the
Well, and
Big Mac, the Big and Tasty. Is they still have the
the
Big and Tasty? I don't think that's been on the menu for a while, actually.
not the big and tasty, but you remember the it was like fish tenders. Did you ever try the
No,
fish
no, I
tenders?
don't remember that. I remember the Shamrock Shake. I remember, um, yeah, I don't know. They always try to pull over their chicken sandwich every few. I remember the chicken selects and the Mighty Wings. I remember those stupid things. Those were dumb,
Mm.
and they had big tie-ins to the NFL. Yeah, pretty successful business. I think, we've already talked about the history. Um, their restaurants are in 120 countries and territories. their sign always says over 6 billion served. I think we already mentioned over 37,000 locations worldwide, and then owning near 18 billion in real estate assets, right? Like if you were ranking real estate companies, they'd be like the 5th largest real estate company in the world. Is that correct?
I mean, yeah, I did a search, but they didn't come up as a real estate company, right? Because I guess they're lumped into some other industry. But yeah, that's amazing. That's super impressive. They have tons of assets, and they have guaranteed renters to take care of those assets. So
I know,
pretty
yeah. Even
smart.
if everyone stops buying the burgers, they're still making money.
I mean, people say like McDonald's is recession proof, and it really like truly is because they've offloaded
Really?
all their risk onto their. I mean, they've offloaded all their risk onto their franchisees, and people tend to eat more McDonald's during recessions because it's like
Right.
a
Because it's
cheaper
so good.
option. It's so good. It's
It's
so
so
quick and
delicious.
delicious.
It's
You get
so yummy.
you get a Shamrock Shake to pick you
What is
up. You know,
the
what are you losing
shit they
out?
have in like the weird like shampoo tubes, like the sweet and sour sauce? It comes out like a little, like, you know what I'm talking about? You
Yeah,
like pump it out
it's like
instead of just
portion.
getting a nice little packet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like portion controlled, right? One pump is
And with a little like, and it's actually a dentist size cup that you put it in, like what the dentist hands you with like
right,
their weird tooth polish or what have you.
right. It fits
Oh,
exactly
McDonald's.
two Advils side by side. That's all it could fit.
Sean, tell me about Ronald McDonald. Who's this Ronald McDonald character? Who's this clown?
Who's this clown? I actually don't know a lot about Ronald McDonald, like where that came from. So I mean, you're gonna have to enlighten me. You're gonna have to
I
enlighten me.
believe the origin of Ronald McDonald's involves Willard Scott, who was a local radio personality. Oh, he was from Washington, D.C. That's fun. Um, who he performed using the moniker Ronald McDonald the Hamburger Happy Clown in 1963. And this was a big push by Ray Kroc. He wanted a mascot. So he created it. And then eventually, I guess, McDonald's stole it in also, I guess, around that time, sometime in the 60s. And they basically have just used him. He first appeared in national TV advertising in 1965 during the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and then showed up in the Super Bowl. And he is, I don't know. Wait, have you seen Super Size Me?
I have a long time ago, but I
Yeah.
haven't seen
Okay.
it.
Well, spoiler alert for Super Size Me. There's like a fun scene. I don't know if you remember this, Sean. There's like a fun scene where uh, they are showing the children famous people, the president, famous religious figures like Jesus, and none of them know who the very famous and more important people
Right.
are. And then they show them a picture of Ronald McDonald. Everyone knows who that is. And it's supposed to be this like, oh my God, can't you look at this? Look how awful they are. They're poisoning our child's minds. But they obviously edited out all the videos of the kids who, knew who Jesus was or knew who President
Right.
Bush was or whomever.
It didn't
And they showed
quite
him a
it didn't
picture of.
it didn't quite fit their agenda that consumers are idiots and
Yeah.
that you're forced to eat fast food.
Yeah.
Um, you
I
have
do
no other
remember
options.
there's some statement. I mean, yeah, so I mean he was their mascot. Everyone knows Ronald McDonald. He's their mascot, and he's got a bunch of friends like the Hamburglar and Grimace, and he's on all the Happy Meals and shit. And he's a fucking creepy looking clown. But yeah, oh my God, I'm really starting to actually take a look at him, and he genuinely is incredibly creepy looking. They have weird drawn on eyebrows, big old red mouth. He's oddly fat for some reason. Like he's not very skinny. I mean, just like in the belly, it's just an odd
Yeah, he's an
look.
odd
But I
shape.
do remember,
He's not the proper shape. It's kind of like Pennywise the clown. It's kind of like a
yeah.
supernatural being. It's not a human in that clothes.
And they've been criticized, right, for having a friendly clown mascot, as you guys are just trying to manipulate kids and make them identify with your food and just get them
Mm-hmm.
started, like indoctrinate them into your lies. And I feel like I could be mistaken. Maybe this is from Super Size Me. I remember a response from McDonald's like, no, he's this wonderful, happy character that believes in wonder and imagination, and he makes kids happy with his songs and smiles, and has nothing to do with eating our food or the obesity rates. It's just a beautiful, thing that you want to deprive children of, this happy memory.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, do you remember the clown influencing your purchasing decision at all when you were
Oh no,
growing
no,
up? I feel like it was
Jesus, no.
completely
But
irrelevant. It was completely irrelevant.
I do know that I have found out from just kind of my basic research that McDonald's is technically the largest, I guess, manufacturer and operator of playground equipment in the country. So either the playgrounds in their stupid restaurants where
Mm-hmm.
you get E. coli or whatever's in there,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Botulism.
guess they also probably donate money to build actual parks. I feel like I've seen that. It's
Oh
really
yeah,
funny
yeah, yeah.
when companies that are hurting our health make these plays to that they're helping our health. That's always fun. And then,
Honestly, do you? I'm gonna defend McDonald's here for a second. Do you really
go
think?
ahead, please. Yeah,
Okay,
Mr. Corporation.
so Mr. Supersize Me, do you buy the argument that like these small mom and pop restaurants or the other options are so much worse or so much better for you than McDonald's? Like, or were
They
the
genuinely are,
alternatives?
because they have had former people come out from McDonald's who say we design our recipes in a lab to come up with the exact amount of sugar and salt to make our products as addictive as possible. Like, they genuinely try to do that. And I can at least say that most mom and pop shops do not have the resources to design their menu items to be as addictive as possible.
Have you seen the like counter documentary to Supersize Me?
I know they made one. No, I haven't seen it, but I mean, I understand.
Okay.
Obviously, like, it's beyond insane for anyone to think that eating McDonald's every day wouldn't be horrible for you. And then they like discontinued the supersize option. They got rid of the XL soda and
Yeah.
the XL fries as a result of that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, they made it an adult Happy Meal. So they made it more of like a kid's version for adults because they realized, they got so much heat from that documentary. But this other comedian, does a documentary called Fathead. I forget who the character was, but he does the same thing done in Super Size Me, and he loses weight. He has higher cholesterol after the fact, but in general, he loses weight. And he did the exact same thing, walked like no more, no less, like in terms of activity. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's some inconsistencies there. I'm not trying to, prop up my corporate overlord, but I just think it's kind of like it's kind of like, it's kind of like talking down to you, like, yeah, you need nutrition labels and you need like me to tell you that all this food is bad. It's like, come on,
Oh.
really, like seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that I think we've let this organization run a little rampant. But I'm not here to talk about my personal take on McDonald's ethics or so on and so forth. I'm here to get into the juicy stuff, the scandals, if you will.
Mm.
Anything else to talk about the Bismarck? Oh, the other thing. I this is where we kind of came off from. You had asked me if the clown had influenced my decision to eat at McDonald's. Not like Kid Vid did at Burger King. Do you remember Kid Vid and his friends?
He was like,
Yeah.
didn't he have these awesome, super cool goggles? He had like
Yeah,
a,
yeah, that would
it
have
was
been
kind of
cool
like
in
a, he
the
was kind,
80s, but he was in the
yeah,
90s.
he was kind of like it was like a Power Ranger, right? Kind of,
Yeah, yeah, I was in
yeah,
a Kid Vid. Um,
Kid Vid.
but it was because the other thing, besides being a manufacturer of playground equipment, they are one of the largest toy manufacturers technically
Hmm.
in the world, or at least toy stores, if you want to call it that. And the toys at McDonald's, actually, I would always be steamed up for those. Those would I'm all
Yeah.
about the getting the toys, the collectibles. I remember when Inspector Gadget with Matthew Broderick came out. They had a line of toys where if you had them all, they put you could put them together to make Inspector Gadget. And my mom wouldn't take me to McDonald's because she didn't think it was very good for me. But she would go to the one across the street from her office and just like be nice to the people there, and they would give her a different toy every week until I got them all.
Just to tie to your other podcast, the one with Chris on the Marvel MCU and like Spider-Man. I thought it was a super interesting takeaway. How you're talking about how the Green Goblin in the first movie of Tobey Maguire was like originally terrifying and like actually looked like he could be in the military, and then they decided like, wait a minute, we can't sell these toys to kids unless we make it like more fun. So they had to like make it goofy and exaggerated, and it's just so.
No, I love it. I really appreciate you listening to my other podcast, but I'm now thinking like, how am I gonna tie McDonald's and Spider-Man back together?
No, you don't have to tie them together. I just think it was a great take, and it's so true. Like people,
toys run the world.
Toys run the world, right? People make
toys are everything. If you can't sell toys, what's the point of living? What's the point of living?
Why do you even have an LLC if you can't sell the toys afterwards? Yeah.
When are we gonna make Los Angeles podcast toys? That's what we need. I need like a little action figure of me, and you can buy a whole set of like beers for my action figure to drink. What else? What else can my podcast toys? What are you gonna do for your toy?
You need some kind of you need like a fixed cost with a toy, and then you need like a variable cost, right? So there's a subscription where you get like beard oil for your action figure.
Wrong. What you need, if I understand anything about toys, you need a play set. You need the Ninja Turtles bus that they drive around in, or their sewer lair. You got to be able to sell the big old the Barbie dream house, if you will. That's the moneymaker in toys.
And then there's accessories to that giant bus thing, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You need a little motorcycle to go along with the Ninja Turtle bus. You need a Barbie dream. Barbie needs a pool. She can't not have a pool. Like
right. You need like heated seats installed, so you have to go to your local.
I swear to God, I'm thinking back. My sister definitely had a Barbie dream house, and I swear she had a pool. They sold her a bowl. It was a bowl, and she bought a Barbie bowl as the Barbie dreamhouse pool, and like poured her own water in it.
Are you kidding me?
I'm dead serious. I could see it clearly in my head. It was a pool for her dream house, and it was a bowl. That's all they sent her. Some guy had a bunch of bowls sitting around his warehouse, called up Mattel, and said, "I'll cut a deal with you. You can market these things."
No, it's ridiculous. It's like if you can tag the word like baby or wedding or like Barbie to any old product, you can sell it for 3 times as much. It's like baby tissue.
It's a gold
and it's just tissue with the word baby on it. Yeah, it's amazing. It's a gold mine. 3x it.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get into these scandals. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I want to talk scandals. All right. We've kind of alluded to it. Super Size Me. That was just a big thing. What was the jabroni's name from Super Size Me? You have that on hand?
I think it's Mergen Sporlock.
Yeah, that guy. He ate it every day. Got sick. Got really sick. I remember there was a scene where he threw up, and for some reason, because we watched it in middle school and maybe also in high school. And then fast forwarded through the scene of him puking because they thought it was too adult for us. I don't understand that at all. But
don't they make you watch a video of a baby crowning in like 8th grade?
Yeah, exactly. But that apparently wasn't too adult, but vomiting was. Other than that, I'm trying to think. There's really not a ton to talk about from there. I do remember I was definitely floored. The more interesting stuff to me was what they intercut his little personal journey with. I remember when they talked about how all the soda companies and McDonald's and Burger King, their advertising spend is more than any agriculture or produce. I'll take the USDA's more propaganda-based advertising out of it for a second. But like, you'll never see the budget for fruits and vegetables advertising versus the budget for McDonald's is ridiculous. And I remember that was pretty interesting takeaway. But other than that, did you have anything to talk about with Super Size Me?
No, I really don't. I mean, maybe you'll get to this, but I always thought it was interesting, like to the point about soda, which is probably one of the more harmful things, like that he was consuming in Super Size Me, right, on a regular basis. Didn't he say he was going to drink a cola every day? That was one of its like.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think that was a stipulation. He had to
it's
do
part of
every
it,
item on the menu.
right? Well, I thought was interesting is McDonald's manufactures its own like special Coca-Cola formula, or Coca-Cola formulates like a specific McDonald's formula
No
that,
way. Are you serious?
yeah, and then the straws are slightly bigger at McDonald's, and then they pump more carbonation into the machine, so nothing hits as good as a McDonald's like Coca-Cola, and it's fact. It's not fiction. I thought it was a myth, and then I went and looked it up, and
You know
it's
how
100% true.
bitter I'd be if I'm Wendy's or I'm Arby's and I'm like, I'm paying the same royalties, MFer. I mean, I'm sure McDonald's give them a little bit more on the back end, but
I'm sure there's a reason this works out the way it does. But yeah, nothing quite hits like a McDonald's Coke.
I was just talking about this with my dad this past week, but it is so interesting how all a restaurant needed to do to survive the last 10, 15 years in this more kind of like health conscious day and age is just pretend they were doing something healthy, right? I mean, I don't
Mm,
think the healthier options at McDonald's are healthy by any means, or the ones at Subway, but it was a pretty prominent chain near where we're from called Jerry's Subs and Pizza. Do you remember that place?
oh yeah.
They're almost all out of business. It was just, pizza and cheesesteaks and really fattening subs, and they never tried to even market anything healthy. But I never went there expecting anything healthy, just like I'd never go to McDonald's expecting anything healthy, or Wendy's or whatever. But all those restaurants at least tried to throw something on the menu, like the
Hmm.
mixed salads, or I remember like the mixed shakers. And Jerry's is all but gone. They're just disappearing everywhere. And I assume, I mean, my opinion would be is that they didn't even try. They didn't even give someone the like fantasy that they were eating healthy at one of these restaurants. And that's all people
Hey,
want. They just want the
hey,
fantasy.
they died being honest though. They died living by their word,
That's what I'm that's what I'm
which I
here
can
for. That's why
appreciate.
I'm a Jerry's man. That's all I care about. I just want my terrible restaurant experience to be honest with me. That's what
To
I
be
want.
honest with you, yeah, you don't want
That's what I
any
want.
facade, any fakery.
Exactly. That's so
Okay,
good.
wait, Alex, I got a question for you. You might know the answer to this. I don't know the answer, so this is a question for you. You know how
Okay.
McDonald's advertised all day breakfast, and it was a phenomenon, right? People loved all
Vaguely,
day
yes.
breakfast. They had an advertising campaign that said it's fresh cracked eggs. Like we literally crack an egg into like a circle, like the circle device, and and then it makes
Cookie
like an
cutter. Yeah.
egg, yeah, and then it makes an egg patty, and then that's what we put on your breakfast sandwiches. And guess how many people believed it, like based on a poll, believe that what they said
I don't
was
know
true.
how many. Do you have the answer?
I don't know the answer, but I think it was like 1 in 10 people believed it, and it was true that they actually did that, but no
They
one
really
believed
had
it.
real eggs? I wouldn't believe that.
Yeah, McDonald's would ship real eggs. They would actually crack it on the skillet and put it in those like cookie
Shit,
cutters.
Sean, maybe I was wrong because I definitely I remember growing up going to the local mom and pop bagel shop by my high school and watching them put like a weird egg
Yeah,
mixture into the microwave that was like pre-packaged. Maybe it is healthier. Maybe I was wrong about McDonald's. Ronald, I'm giving you another chance. I'm gonna come out and get myself a healthy egg breakfast.
yeah, your small mom and pop Great Falls restaurant way worse, way worse.
Oh my
They're out
god,
for,
what was I thinking?
yeah.
That's so crazy.
But it's crazy. Perception is everything, like you said, right? As long as you believe it's healthier, then you're happy. I mean, the
Yeah,
placebo effect is amazing.
yeah. All right. I really want to talk about this. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you even heard or seen or have any experience with the HBO documentary series McMillions?
No, but that's the I know what you're talking about though. That's the one of the scandal with the Monopoly pieces, right?
Right, right. So big ol' I'm gonna just throw this out here. Big ol' spoiler alert for the McMillions series. If you haven't seen it, it's a really awesome
Yeah.
documentary series on HBO. Super interesting. I can't recommend it enough. Um, Actually, that's a little too much high praise. It's good. It's good. It's good.
Should you tell
But
them to skip ahead 2 minutes or something? Like
no,
if you do,
at this point, I'm not. I don't know when we're gonna stop talking about it because this is we're live. We're creators here. We need space to explore. We're not gonna have ourselves, jam ourselves into rigid timelines just for your spoiler-free pleasure. No, no, no. We're artists, and that's what Sean and I are here to do is create art. So yeah, if everyone probably knows the Monopoly promotion at McDonald's, and basically from the late 80s or early 90s through 2001, it was totally fucking rigged. And everyone who won was part of this essentially organized crime syndicate where people were picked out and they're all like kind of related in some way, part of the same family. And it took the FBI actually getting an anonymous tip to investigate it, or else this could be still going on today. We could still be fucking dealing with rigged
Mhm.
Monopoly game pieces. Did you ever play the Monopoly game, Sean?
Yeah, my parents went nuts for it.
No, they did it.
We would sometimes get McDonald's twice in a day
You're
just to hope to get.
joking.
No, no, I'm serious. Just to get the piece that we hoped we would get. We were like, we want to fit it. We want to get Park Place. But here's the thing, right? All the pieces were super
Oh my
easy to
God,
get,
Sean, this
except for the
explains so
valuable
much
ones.
about you. Yeah, no
What?
shit. That's how collecting works.
All right, genius. What did you do? Did you ever play this game?
Okay, so not really until might have been my junior year of high school or sophomore year of high school. A close friend of mine, I don't want to say his name because you definitely know him, um, he claims to this day. Well, actually, we haven't talked about it in a while, but he claimed that he found the rare boardwalk piece, right, for either $100,000 or $1,000,000. I can't remember. That year it might have only been 100 grand if you had the boardwalk piece,
Yeah,
but he claims he found the rare one, right? And
right.
then the next day went back to the store and then got the other one and wasn't thinking of it, and then claims that his like housekeeper threw it out because he like left it out the day before, and he was like digging through the trash, and he claims that that's what it was. And I mean, at the time I believed him, but looking back, it's probably much more likely that he in his head when he found the second piece, he thought he had the other
Mm.
piece from the day before, and he just we'll never know because she threw it out. So we went on this mission then and there to try and win, just that time. So we spent maybe that whole McDonald's Monopoly time going to McDonald's all the time buying the hash browns. And I found this out from the documentary is that you actually didn't have to buy any McDonald's to get a game piece because then it would be gambling. If you just walked up to the counter and to this day you can still do this. If you walk up to the counter and say, "Hey, can I have a game piece?" they have to give you one, or otherwise it would be gambling.
Are they still running this scam
Yeah,
or
they still do
whatever
it.
this? Oh,
Yeah, they still do it every year, don't they?
oh yeah. No, I mean, granted, I think I've really lost faith in McDonald's. Haven't been part of haven't been part of the. Well, we're
No,
not
no,
part of
no.
the cabal. So
Yeah, so I mean the scam or whatever has been cleared up since the early 2000s. So I mean maybe there's another one going on, but the really famous scam was everyone was arrested and taken care of in like 2001. But they do still run the promotion, and every time they run it, their stock jumps and their sales go through the roof. It's like a huge winner for them, and it's always been really successful. So the history behind it was they used to hire this marketing company because they don't really actually do any of their own kind of marketing events or promos
mhm.
called Simon Marketing, and they were this I mean kind of small marketing firm, but they had been the ones who came up with the Happy Meal, and they were also the company that came up with the McDonald's Monopoly promotion, right? And I mean it's kind of a spoiler to talk anything about it, but they worked with a printing company who would actually print the cups and the French fries, or the actual little stickers that went on the cups and the French fries and the
Mhm.
burgers for the Monopoly game pieces. And the marketing company would work with them. We're charged with holding on to the winning pieces. And basically, this MFer at the top of Simon Marketing, their head of security, who was in charge of the game pieces, even though they had like 1,000 checks in place to ensure that he didn't steal them or whatever, he figured out a way to steal them. So even like years later, the FBI couldn't figure out how he was stealing them. He basically would get all the winning pieces and then either sell them to people. So like if you want the $1 million winning ticket, you'd pay him 50 grand or 100 grand cash, and then he would just keep that, or he would give it to you, and then you'd have to give him half of. These people were so dumb that were taking these prize money. They would like get a, I don't know, $100,000 prize and agree to give him half of it. So agree to give him 50 grand because I guess they don't know taxes exist. So they'd end up just like losing money through the whole thing because they had to pay this guy $50,000. And it was like a straight up organized crime syndicate where the legitimate like Italian mob got involved. This one MFer like in Jersey, when you watch the documentary, he's like straight up Tony Soprano, this guy. And it just gets crazier and crazier, like how much the spread, because they wanted to keep, pushing it out to different people, help different people out. And keep kicking the money around, and just all these poor people just got caught up in it. They thought that, oh, this is a huge blessing, I'm gonna be able to change my life or whatever, and then forgot about things like taxes, or your face is all over the news with you holding $1 million check and everybody wants a piece now. Like it was nuts. It was like every single winner was compromised for like 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, right? Lotteries, what is it? People who win the lottery are more depressed and more unhappy and tend to go
more likely to go broke.
Yeah, in the next like 3 years. It's insane. And did the documentary cover this? Someone actually sent one of the $1 million pieces to like St. Jude Hospital. Like they just put it in
this dude.
Okay, yeah, and apparently just like someone who sorts their mail found it, and McDonald's honored the prize for them. They said yeah, we'll pay it, and then I think they even did something extra on top, even though it was like
right. Even though that was based off of fraudulent game piece, like this guy was stealing all of them, so he had all this money, like he couldn't give them away fast enough. They're like someone once like burned one and he didn't give a shit because he was just like every year he would get the new game piece. Every year he would give it to somebody. And it covered, he was the guy that actually sent it in. So then when they found out how fake everything was, McDonald's luckily still honored the, payments to St. Jude, thank goodness. But it's actually so funny that everyone was going crazy about, or everyone just goes crazy about this company that's worth, north of 20 billion, or God, probably way more than that, which is worth billions and billions of dollars, that has a promo that brings them in like 80 to 90 million dollars, and everyone like fights over the like $1 million cash prize. And the FBI has to investigate it and stuff. And that's kind of the top dog's like main point, is that these people like McDonald's, they don't care as long as somebody claims the prize. That's all good for them.
Oh yeah, I mean, and probably all press is good press, even when it came out to be fraudulent. I'm sure people freaked out and maybe even bought more than once they cleaned it up, right?
That's the crazy thing about this. And this is going to be so weird because this is the second time in 2 weeks I'm going to bring up 9/11 on this podcast. But the whole story broke like right before 9/11. And it was a massive story, but just for maybe a couple of weeks. And then after September 11th, no one ever talked about it again. That's why I guess I had never really heard about this. One of my friends recommended the documentary, and that's kind of how I got turned on to it. But I would have been really young when this all happened, but I don't ever remember hearing that the monopoly is fraudulent or anything.
Are you making not a straight line, but a dotted line to the terror attacks on 9/11 and the negative press that McDonald's was experiencing?
Get out of here with your 9/11 conspiracy theory.
I didn't think that. I was just curious if that crossed your mind. Guess not.
No, it didn't. Cool, man. Well, dude, I really appreciate you jumping on to talk McDonald's. Any kind of closing thoughts? Anything you want to want to bring up on this fine organization?
Maybe last point, and then we can drop the mic. But do you remember the worm burger conspiracy?
No, what is that?
So people were alleging that it's not like USDA grade like certified beef. It's actually a burger made of ground up earthworms, and that's what you're eating. And
What?
and McDonald's, I to their credit, didn't even try to disprove it. I'm pretty sure the CEO just like sent out a letter saying it's actually more expensive to grind up earthworms, and like a pound of earthworms is more expensive than a pound of meat of beef. And that's all he said. And people were like, "Oh, that makes sense."
And everyone
That's
just
what
let him alone.
yeah, that's what killed it. It wasn't like he wasn't like no, like you're wrong. He wasn't like trying to use logic. He was just like, no, it's too expensive, but that's a good idea.
That's great.
So yeah,
I
that's
am
one of my
curious, and
favorites.
I didn't mean to jump off that real quick. What you know, maybe this is just the dumbass normie in me, but what did you, if at all, learn about McDonald's in business school? Like, was that ever? I would assume you guys would do case studies on all the big
Mm.
corporations. So I was just curious if you learned anything or uh, anything stuck out to you from school.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, it McDonald's is predominantly like real estate, right? They have some corporate stores and they have like an innovation arm, but it's predominantly real estate. And I wasn't in the real estate kind of function. Like my business school program was very much like, choose your own adventure. You research the companies you're interested in and you present those, right? So the closest thing we ever got to was like a tech strategy project on Domino's, right? And how Domino's can really clean up using their technology, autonomous vehicles, stuff like that. So never did a case study on McDonald's, but I'm sure there's a bunch of awesome ones through Harvard Business School. McDonald's has been in business for so freaking long. They practically wrote the book. So nothing I
Right.
personally studied, but I'm sure there's a ton out there.
You're more of a Subway guy, more of a Starbucks or Subway guy.
Yeah, more of a Quiznos man myself.
Quiznos, that is an interesting. Quiznos
And
is
that's
interesting
for
because you were talking about offloading risk onto your franchisees. Quiznos
yeah.
destroyed their business because they basically just treated their franchisees like shit. Did you notice that they were kind of like Subway, where they just let anybody and everybody open a business? They didn't care if there's a Quiznos across the street from another Quiznos, and
Right.
then they opened their own food supply company and then mandated that
Oh.
every Quiznos had to buy from there. So for a
Oh.
few years, it's probably generating amazing revenue, but they would charge like, I think someone pointed out that they could go to Whole Foods and buy like tomatoes and lettuce cheaper than what the supply company from Quiznos was charging them. It was
Oh.
just so bad. And then
That's
yeah, they all just
awful.
went out of business. It's almost as if you shouldn't just bleed your partners dry in your business.
Yeah, it's almost like that. McDonald's has certified suppliers too that they make you purchase, but I don't think it's anything to the tune of like what Quiznos was trying to pull off. It wasn't like the $2
Yeah,
per tomato type scam. It's like,
yeah,
from my
exactly.
understanding, pretty reasonable. But yeah, Alex, thanks for having me on. This was an absolute pleasure, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
For sure. One thing we didn't even mention was this was a big elementary school fodder. I forgot about this. Was the woman who burned herself on the coffee and sued
Ooh,
McDonald's
yeah.
for she sued them for 2.8 million, but I'm reading here she only got 640K and she was 81. Damn, that's pretty. All I remember was the Seinfeld episode where they make fun of it, which now it's actually sounding like it was pretty bad. She got third-degree burns.
Yeah, the coffee was like 20 degrees hotter than it should be. And those lids used to be so freaking flimsy. I think she just like
Yeah,
dumped it immediately on her lap. And I remember seeing those pictures and it's scarring me. Like legit scarring me. It's
really.
like scarred me. Oh,
Well,
the pictures are horrifying.
I
Like
actually have a
of just
friend who
liquid burns in general.
Just liquid burns. Yeah, I actually, it's probably this. I have a friend who she suffered insane burns because she was making, I mean, she was in like 8th grade, but she was making an after school snack of peas, which I don't know what 8th grader wants a nice snack of hot peas after a
and
long day of middle school.
followed by like a tall glass of milk and some broccoli.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now that I'm an adult, I enjoy chickpeas and Smirnoff Ice on the rocks. But she spilled the boiling water of peas all over her, I guess, legs, and I think it's because it was on her jeans, like her pants, and you can't like get your pants off that. That's what does the damage. So maybe if you just, I don't know, maybe I don't, I'm not a burn scientist, but I think having that extra heat on there and then essentially having something to hold the heat in and seal it onto your leg is a lot worse for you than maybe just spilling it on its own.
Yeah, you would think it would offer some protection, but I mean, I could see it if it had holes in it or something and just getting trapped in there.
Well,
Yeah,
jeans
that's
just
brutal.
get so soaked. They get so
Yeah.
soaked.
They get so soaked.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah. Thanks again, Sean, for joining. You got anything to recommend? Anything to plug? Anything you want to tell my fine listeners about?
No, just stay woke out there. Always question the man. No, thanks for having me,
Wow,
Alex. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. We'll do it again soon. All right. Thank you all for listening to Los Angeles, and we'll be back soon. Cheers.